Good afternoon, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, we give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh. Also, I acknowledge the earthly mother, who was wisdom, who was the Holy Spirit. Also, I acknowledge Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson today and gives more knowledge and understanding of events of the past, things that are currently going on in the world, and things that soon come on the earth. This morning, had a conversation with this guy I know, and we were talking about some of the events that are going on in the world, and we were started talking about the Midwest and the flooding, and he was telling me his take on the whole, all the events that are going on, and he was talking about how he believes it's a weather manipulation, and well, this brother here is a cool dude, but he's a Trump supporter, so he's still kind of stuck in the whole tier, two party system, Democrats, Republican, things like that. And, but he actually knows quite a bit of things about things that are going on. But, sometimes we just kind of get stuck in certain points of view and things like that. Well, he was talking about how he believed that the floods were weather manipulation and that the Democrats wanted this destruction to happen in the middle of the country because that's where most of the base for the Republican Party is, and if they are all flooded out, that they can't vote for Trump, and that they don't really care what's happening to the middle of the country because they all they care about is winning elections. And then I told him, I said, you got to understand. I said, ultimately, the Most High is in charge of absolutely everything, and a lot of these things, as far as going off on Democrats and Republicans, is just nothing but distractions. And these distractions keep you from recognizing who's truly in power, who's truly the ones that's bringing this nation to its knees. And everyone wants to, many of the people here, the last thing they want to believe is that the Most High doesn't love everyone. The last thing they want to believe is that other nations are going to have to pay for what was done to God's chosen people. They'll believe pretty much anything else. They'll believe that pigs can really fly before they'll want to believe that we're really the sons and daughters of the Most High, and that we've been suffering the curses under their rulership, and if they have to pay. I think they would prefer to believe, pigs could fly before they would believe that that's true. But I can understand that, because if you think about the ramifications, that it means for them, you can see why they don't want to believe that. So they'll believe anything. You tell them it's the New World Order. The brother was telling me that it's the New World Order trying to pretty much destroy all the rural areas in order to force people into smart cities and 5G and all that. And I said, and I could be the case as far as what they're thinking, but ultimately it's whatever the Most High wants to happen. But this is all biblical, because what you have to understand is that Esau, the Gentiles, are all under a spell. That, the God of this world, Satan, has been given authority. And right now he's using his authority to keep the vast majority of the world in the matrix, not understanding what's really going on. He pretty much gives them a shiny new toy to look at every day, and they just follow along with whatever comes on in the YouTube, the internet. It's a new world order. Oh, it's we're gonna go to war in Iran. Oh, we're gonna go to our Syria and Israel are about to fight. That's the Holy Land over there. You need to concentrate on what's going on with those Jewish people over there, because those are God's really true chosen people. Everything is a distraction. And when the Most High talked about that in the scriptures, you're going to understand that when he comes back, it's going to take the vast majority of people by surprise. So that being said, if it's going to take the vast majority of people by surprise, then what would the people be concentrating on? Will they really be concentrating on the Most High, on the Most High's chosen people, on the truth? Or will they be consumed with lies, distractions? people telling them things that they want to hear. That's the world that we live in. And that's the way the Most High said it was going to be at the end. So when a few people listen to us, we understand why, because that's the way the Most High set it up. But the ones that are having their eyes opened are very, very near and dear to the Most High, because He's allowed many people here at this late hour to be awakened, to be able to recognize what's really going on. But the vast majority of the world is going to be overtaken at the end. And let's read some of that real quick. Let's read Matthew. Go to Matthew chapter 24, verses 29 and 30. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Okay, now that tribulation is talking about our tribulation, the Hebrews' tribulation that we've had to go through, northern and southern kingdom. And the distraction to keep people in the dark is to make people think that this tribulation is going to happen in the future. So then they don't have to worry about trying to get ready for the Most High coming back. Because they will believe that either they'll get raptured away, or they'll be able to get themselves right during the tribulation period. Okay? So that's why, these distractions are all set up. Everything is set up to keep people in the dark and not let them see what's really going on and the truth here. Let's continue with 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. Why would they all be mourning? Because they realize that they lost their opportunity to follow the Most High. Then they will realize that they've been distracted because they thought that they had so much more time to get ready for the Most High. Then they'll realize that they're not going to get raptured. Then they'll realize that their children aren't going to be raptured. Then they'll realize that they've been duped by Satan, that they've been kept in the dark this whole time. And when the true men of the Most High who've been trying to share, when the women have been trying to share, when the children have been trying to share, and the vast majority of the world just looks at them like they're crazy, they'll then understand the severity of their mistake. But not until then. Okay, that's why this is so important. Okay, read that again. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So once they see the Most High Son coming, then they're going to realize, but not before that. Only the select few will realize it before. If you're able to see what's going on right now, if you're able to see the truth right now, count yourself blessed. Okay, let's go to 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right? So that's why, at the end of the tribulation, at the end of our tribulation, where we both went into captivity, northern and southern kingdom went into captivity together. At the end of that tribulation is when the Most High cracks open them skies. And then people can see the truth. But very few very few people are able to see the truth, and most refuse. Okay? So they believe right now that the economy is fine. They believe that men are making all this stuff happen right here. They're believing the things like, the Democrats, want this thing to happen right here so they can get back into the power of the presidency. No, and there's no difference between Republicans and Democrats. They both, work for the same system. Just one likes to stab you in the front, face to face, and one will stab you in the back. But we've been at the bottom no matter who's been in office. So to believe that we would get some kind of relief, from either group is really laughable at this point. Okay? You start to see these twisters, you start to see these storms the Most High is bringing on this country and worldwide. Okay? The Most High is doing all this. You know, He's releasing the four horsemen of the apocalypse. You know, they'll tell you that economy is great. It's never been better. While as we drive through our cities, we see homeless people all over the place. We see people barely being able to scrape by all over the place. We see people not being able, having to work 2, 3, 4 jobs just to be able to, provide somewhat for the family and still struggling. There's people on public assistance all over the world, all over the country. The inflation is going up, so you can't, everything is going up. Everything is getting more and more expensive. Okay. It's hard to make it for everyone. So if these things are happening and we see them happening, but then they want to lie to you and tell you that everything is just fine and great. And because like I said, it's a distraction. It's to keep you subdued while everything is already going to hell. And many people can already see that. Definitely. Now, I'm going to continue is because Esau and the Gentiles, they still want to live like it's 1950. They still want to live like it's the height of their empire here in the United States. It's very difficult for them to, believe, that their kingdom and that their reign is coming to an end. So they still have that, pompous attitude, that their military is the only strong military in the world. That if the United States says something, that all other nations need to bow down and do whatever they say. How it was like in the 1950s, after World War II, when they were like the predominant superpower of the world. All right, they just believe that if they tell you something, you're not allowed to question it. They're still living like when they break down scriptures, that is the only way that these scriptures can be broken down. If they say John 3:16 means the whole world, and you say something different, your opinion means absolutely nothing, because that's the way they see the world, as they're still the cream of the crop on top. No one can tell them anything, and that if whatever they say goes, whatever breakdowns they have goes. That's Esau right there, loving life in the 1950s, on top of the world. And he still thinks it's exactly like this even to today. They believe that us Israelites just need to shut up and sit in a corner and not have any say about absolutely anything. In fact, they want to let us know that, hey, we're not even the Israelites, that we're nobody, and that they'll break everything down for you. That's what they're still living like. Because Esau hasn't evolved. Esau is still stuck in 1950. He's still stuck in nothing's changed. He's still stuck with manifest destiny. He can go wherever he wants, take whatever he wants, because it's his time to shine. That's what he's still stuck in. He's still stuck on this right here. God will have mercy on them. We will not. He's still stuck in that whole mindset. Because like I said, Esau hasn't evolved. Esau is still the same. He still thinks the same way. And so do the other nations as well. You got a couple here and there that are waking up, a little bit here and there. But they still think that they're on top and whatever they say goes. But other nations are kind of starting to step up and stand up to them and let them know, like, nah, you can't just do whatever you want anymore. And a lot of Edomites seem to have issues with that. Okay? Like I said, the Edomites have not evolved. He said they're scared to look to the past and the things that they've done to our people. They want to brush all that under the rug. But they're also scared to look to the future, because the Most High has already told them that everything is going to switch. That people who are on the top are going to go to the bottom. People who are at the bottom are going to go to the top. So if you look at the past and look at the things that they've done, they don't want to look at that. If you look at the future and what the Most High has made promises to our people, they don't want to look at that either. So now they're stuck. And just living like they're still in their kingdom, they're still in their blessing, and that nothing's ever going to change. See that? That's them right there. I don't want to hear anything. Don't want to look back. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to talk. Don't bring things up to me about what we did in the past to get to this point, how we got this land, how we got all of our blessings, all the rape, robbing, and murdering. Please don't bring that up. And if you bring that up, you're a racist. You just need to move on. That's them. And right here. But now the Father is waking up his people in the lands of their captivities. And then the other nations don't want to see that either. They don't want to look at that. They're starting to see us wake up and be able to break down the scriptures the correct way. Not just the Bible, but other books as well, historical books as well. We're starting to recognize who we are, where we came from, where our blessing is. That this land here is our inheritance. This land here is what the Most High promised to us. And he's showing us that we are his people. And that he, turned his head away from us, or eyes away from us for a time. But now he's bringing us back. And as we wake up and the Most High sends the Holy Spirit, she gives us knowledge and understanding. And that old me is left behind the way I was before. I'm nothing like I used to be. I said, and if you're still the same as you used to be, then maybe you're not really awakened. Remembering where we came from. There's all these discoveries, daily about all these cities that are being, that have been covered over by the Most High with the trees in order to hide much of the information, much of our land, much of our structures. But now the Most High is making it so that this information is coming back out again. The greatness of our people is starting to be discovered once again. It's been hidden for so long. But now the Most High is bringing it back out, bringing our knowledge and understanding and our history back to us. About these beautiful lands here being ours. About these weren't just lands that are just up for grabs, but these lands were promised to our forefathers. And they're promised to us for an eternity. The other nations got the blessing and got a chance to take our inheritance and use it for themselves for a time. But the Most High is going to clean our lands and replenish them and give them back to us once again. This is all biblical prophecy. The thing he doesn't want to look, why he doesn't want to look in the back, he doesn't want to look in the past, and doesn't want to look into the future. About our men being raised back up again in order to be the men that our nation needs. And for us, our men be able to wake up to be the men that our women need and our children need. That we can be the ones that are actually going to be reading our scriptures, our history, and teaching it to our children, teaching it to our families. They don't want to see that again. So that's why they don't want to look to the past, because that's how it used to be in the past. And they don't want to look to the future, because that's how it's going to be again. So Esau and the other nations want to be stuck, living and only thinking about the times of their blessing, the good old days. But this is what you're seeing now. The men being raised back up to be the men that they're supposed to be teaching, our people the way it's supposed to be. And our children and our wives, and the other nations. The other nations that the Most High chooses to open up their eyes, will teach them too. They will come to Zion in order to learn the ways of the Most High, and will be used to teach them as well. I want to read something from the book of Jasher. And you got to understand why. This little story here will help you understand why the Edomites and the other nations, they know who we are. They know what we're capable of when the Most High restores us. And that's why they don't want to think about that. I want to read this is from the book of Jasher, chapter 35. It's what happens when the Most High is with us, and the other nations know exactly what happens when the Most High is with us. Okay? This is chapter 35. And all the kings of the Emorium came and took their stand in the field to consult with the counselors what was to be done with the sons of Jacob, for they were still afraid of them, saying, Behold, two of them slew the whole of the city of Shechem. And Yahweh heard the prayers of Ichak and Yaakov. And he filled the hearts of all these kings as advisors with great fear and terror, that they unanimously exclaimed, Are you silly this day? Or is there no understanding in you, that you will fight with the Ephraim, or the Hebrews? And why will you take a delight in your own destruction this day? Behold, two of them came to the city of Shechem without fear or terror, and they killed all the inhabitants of the city, that no man stood up against them. And how will you be able to fight with them all? Surely you know that their Elohim is exceedingly fond of them, and has done mighty things for them, such as have not been done from days of old, and amongst all the Elohim of nations. There is none can do like unto his mighty deeds. Surely he delivered their father, Abraham, the Ivri or the Hebrew, from the hand of Nimrod, and from the hand of all his people, who had many times sought to slay him. He delivered him also from the fire in which King Nimrod had cast him, and his Elohim delivered him from it. And who else can do the like? Surely it was Abraham, who slew the 5 kings of Elam, when they had touched his brother's son, who in those days dwelt at Sedom. And took his servant that was faithful in his house, and a few of his men, and they pursued the kings of Elam, and one night, and killed them, and restored to his brother's son all his property, which they had taken from him. And surely you know the Elohim of these Ephraim is much delighted with them, and they are also delighted with him, for they know that he delivered them from all their enemies. And behold, through his love toward his Elohim, Abraham took his only and precious son, and intended to bring him up as a burnt offering to his Elohim. And had it not been for Elohim, who prevented him from doing this, he would then have done it through his love to his Elohim. And Elohim saw all his works, and swore unto him, and promised him that he would deliver his sons and all his seed from every trouble that would befall them, because he had not done this thing. So this is a promise that he already made, that he was going to deliver the sons of Abraham and all his seed from every trouble that would befall them. So they know that we're going to be delivered from this trouble that we are in even to today. Let's continue. And through this love to his Elohim, stifled his compassion for his child. And have you not heard what their Elohim did to Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, and to Abimelech, king of Gerar, through taking Abraham's woman, who said of her, She is my sister, lest they might slay him on account of her, and think of taking her for a woman. And Elohim did unto them as their people all that you have heard of. And behold, we ourselves saw with our eyes that Esau, the brother of Yaakov, came to him with 400 men with the intention of slaying him, for he called to mind that he had taken away from him his father's blessing. And he went to meet him when he came from Aram to smite the mother with the children, and who delivered him from the hands but his Elohim, in whom he trusted. He delivered him from the hand of his brother, and also from the hands of his enemies, and surely he again will protect them. Who does not know that it was their Elohim who inspired them with strength to do to the town of Shechem the evil which you heard of? Could it then be with their own strength that 2 men could destroy such a large city as Shechem, had it not been for their Elohim, in whom they trusted? He said and did unto them all this to slay the inhabitants of the city and their city. And can you prevail over them who have come forth together from your city to fight with the whole of them? Even if 1,000 times as many more should come to your assistance, surely you know and understand that you do not come to fight with them, but you come to war with their Elohim, who made choice of them, and who have therefore all come this day to be destroyed. Okay? Now therefore refrain from this evil which you are endeavoring to bring upon yourselves, and it will be better for you not to go to battle with them, although they are but few in numbers, because their Elohim is with them. And when the kings of the Amorim heard all the words of the advisors, their hearts were filled with terror, and they were afraid of the sons of Yaakov, and would not fight against them. The other nations, the ones at the top, they know prophecy. They know who we are. And they know what's happening to their control, to their nation. You got to understand, Esau is very proud. Anytime there was some kind of destruction, when he was in the height of his domain, his blessing, he would always talk about, we're going to rebuild. We're going to fix everything. We're going to make everything better than it was before. But this time, as you see all this destruction starting to pile up, you don't see that prideful spirit as much. You kind of see a lot of them just turning their heads, ignoring a lot of these events, acting like they're not happening, or showing very, very few clips and not talking about it. That's because, like I said, they know the time. They know what we're moving into. And they're just, many people who don't understand what's really going on are just blaming it on the New World Order and how they're all together. They don't realize that this is the Most High that is doing this. Just like he did in Egypt. I'm sure many of the Egyptians tried to explain away many of the plagues that were happening as some natural occurring phenomenon. But ultimately, we all know that it was the Most High that was in control, that was doing all this. And he's in control again all the time. And now he's beginning to move on this place, on the lands of our captivities. And time is short. Time is very short. Just too much information being shared, too much growth. Now the Most High is really, I said, really putting it on hyperdrive and making sure that many people get much more knowledge and understanding. So I would be trying to study as much as I possibly can, be used by the Most High as much as I can, be able to build up as many talents as you possibly can before the Father gets here. So even before he starts to put many of our works to the fire and see what stays and what's burnt up, what's been done for him and what's been done for vainglory. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.